guys, Chris here with Super Savvy Travelers. Hey, before I do anything, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We got a lot of stuff coming up, and today I'm going to tell you the uncomfortable but brutally honest truths about renovating in Italy that you need to know before you buy. The most of the work that makes you a success or failure happens before you buy, because there's a lot of things you need to look at and know and understand before you go in. So we're going to go over all of that in detail right now so you can see what are the things that you really need to focus on. I mean, it could be this big overwhelming experience of so many unknowns, but there's only a few that you really need to focus on, and we're going to hit those pretty hard today. So put on your bathing caps, peeps, because we're going to take a deep dive. All right, so, a lot of people think, of course, that, renovating in Italy is just this big dream. Of course, we all saw Under the Tuscan Sun, probably multiple times like I did, and we'll see it again. And it's a wonderful story, but so much of it is pure fiction. You see these things happen and you're like, yeah, that's not how it goes, or that's not realistic, or no. So understand that is a beautiful story and we love it. And we actually live very close to Cortona where that was filmed. But it's not always true. That said, it could be true. You could have a dream renovation, but it just depends on how much you know before you go and how much prep work you put in and that kind of thing, and how realistically you look at the whole situation. You can't be in a dream world. You can't be in a delusory Under the Tuscan Sun, all my dreams come true kind of thing. You have to be realistic. So we're going to go over that too. Now, who are we? We're Super Savvy Travelers. We have facilitated the sale of over 40 properties in Santa Domenica Tila, which is a hill town of 1,200 people. These were abandoned, quasi-abandoned. Some were crumbly ruins. In fact, one we used to call the dead cat house, because the minute you opened the front door to show it to the clients, you had to step over a dead cat. And there was another one found in the cellar. So, yeah. So these are all different types of houses. Some nice new ones, some renovated, some dead animals and skeletons and things like that. Not people skeletons, animal skeletons. But the point is that you can see anything, and you can pretty much buy anything down there if you're up for it. So we did that in Santa Domenica Tila. We facilitated the sale of so many more properties down in the surrounding area. We've branched out. We're in Torrita di Siena now, which is in Tuscany. We are in Puglia, and we've really helped a lot of people buy and renovate properties and really parachute into the ideal scene, which, if you're interested in working with us, definitely send us an email, and we'll get you started on the road there, go over how we can help you and that kind of thing. But we were able to really, really assist them in a process which, like I said, could be very overwhelming, but it should be very exciting. So a couple of things that I want to tell you from the outset. The culture is something you really need to understand. So you need to know what community you're going into. Really, a community is at least as important as the property. The property, when you're buying it, that's probably the most important thing, but also the community. Is it a place you're going to feel comfortable? Do you feel comfortable with the building teams and that kind of thing? And the community and culture is very important. You need to know what it is. For example, so I had somebody come to me and said, I've told them 1,000,000 times I want the air conditioner right in the middle of the bedroom wall, and they keep putting it on the side, and I'm so upset, and this and that. And I said, well, what's underneath the air conditioner in the middle of the wall? And they said, the bed. And I said, oh, sweetheart, there's no Italian in the history of Italy that's ever going to put your bed right underneath an air conditioner because of the colpa d'aria. The colpa d'aria is a breeze, even a light breeze, that hits an exposed body part and can be the reason for stiff necks, headaches, eye problems, stomach aches. Any health problem that comes up, a lot of times is, attached to the colpa d'aria. I remember one time we were having lunch outside. It was windy, but it was warm. And so we were working out there. The lady came out 3 times. You need to come inside. It's colpa d'aria. And finally, we were like, we really want to be outside. The first time, no, we're fine. Finally, we went, you know what? We should go inside, because that's culturally what you do. Even though we wanted to be outside in the warm wind, it was colpa d'aria. So understand, that's not going to happen. There's no Italian that's going to put your AC unit right over your bed. All right, so let's go into the property. The property is the most important thing, but also surrounding the property, the community is very important, and your team. Now, the community and the team go hand in hand, because I could go on and on about a rivalry, about competition, about unspoken rules and laws in these hill towns and things like that, there could be some territorial issues. There could be some jealousies. You want to avoid that at all costs if you can. How do you do that? What you do is you find out from the people in the bar or whoever, just talk to the locals and say, who's the guy around here that I talk to about renovations? In our, town, it was Antonello Lucchese, who's been wonderful. I just love working with this guy. We have been able to work elbow to elbow for years, going through all manner of properties, even the crusty ruins. He was the one that, said, watch out for that cat when I walked in that house. Don't step on that, it's going to be gross, all right? But very open, very honest, very free and generous with his knowledge. And I said, this is somebody I can work with. That's the only way I would do what we did, in that area, was if I had a great team. And that branched out to teams of not only Antonello, but all the building teams, which at one point, there were so many renovations happening in Santa Domenica that he had to go all the way to Lauria to get people, like calling all his friends, you guys know any workers? They were driving an hour in every day just to finish all the renovations. But I would never myself have called Lauria or anybody else around. I always would go through Antonello because he knows the lay of the land. He's lived there forever. He knows the culture. He knows the unspoken rules. And I would never take a step without consulting him in that way. So that's something that I would suggest to you, which brings the importance of the community so much into the picture, because you can find the perfect property, the price and everything is great. But if you're not comfortable with that building team and that architect or geometra or engineer, I would think twice. There are certain unfortunate truths. Not everybody in the world is ethical. Not everybody is going to be honest and open with you. And you could run into a lot of problem if you get somebody that's not trustworthy. And I say that, understand that the vast, vast majority of the people we've met and we've worked with were very trustworthy, very honest, very, open and everything else. But there are a few, and we've run into a few of them that we've had to deal with, and it's never pretty. Not so much us, but with certain situations, which I'll go into later. I have a whole video for you on that, where it could get extremely ugly. So know going in, and know that they're not going to put up the prices for foreigners. Sometimes people do that. Get your estimates, get enough to make you feel really, really comfortable that they are being open and above board with you, that they're going to do their best with you, that you're going to work together as a team. And that will also ensure that you will be accepted into the community there, because it's a small world in these little hill towns. And that's a whole video of itself. The dynamics, the unseen and unspoken dynamics of these little towns in various different areas. And they're different wherever you go. Tuscany, they're different. Mola, they're different. Calabria, they're different. You got to know. So that's the most important thing. But let's also talk about the property itself. Entry price is a big deal, okay? If it's like my friend Lisa, she's a realtor here in California as well. And she says, price fixes everything. And she's right. For the right price, something will sell. Okay. And if you're going to do your renovations, for the right price, you can get just about anything. The only one thing I would never consider, just because there's so many other properties available, is foundation issues. Foundation issues, or foundation is like underwear. Okay. You could go spend a whole lot of money on stuff nobody ever sees. Right? That'd be like going into, you've got $1,000 to buy an outfit, right? And spending $700 on underwear. No, no, spend it on your dress. Nobody's going to see your underwear. Well, okay, never mind. That said, spend it on your dress. Spend it on the stuff you're going to see and enjoy. And, if there's foundation issues, sometimes they open something up and, there's a little bit more, and you never know what you're getting into. And there's so many other properties available. So I avoid them. That's my own personal preference. If you're intrepid, if you have an engineering background and you want to take that on, go ahead. But make sure the price is low when you go in. Other things, okay, so there's definitely different types of permits that you can get. There's the stuff that you don't really need a permit, things like tiling, things like repainting, you know, basic cosmetic lipstick things. Those you don't need a permit for. You can get a handyman to do them. They're relatively inexpensive. Then there's the next level of permit, which has to do with if you're taking out plumbing fixtures and that sort of thing and putting them in and blah, blah, blah. And that, you know, adds a little bit of money, adds maybe a little bit of time, generally on the local level. Then when you get into the more structural stuff, you're talking about a longer lead time. You're talking about more money just for the permit and to get everything that you need to get the permit. And that kind of thing. That has to do with structure, moving load-bearing walls, doing some various things like making, you know, windows that you're going to move or make bigger and that kind of stuff. You know, anything that affects the structure. And then there's the big one called the PDC, Permesso di blah, 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 blah. This one is a big deal. This one is for big projects generally, but also certain projects like a swimming pool. And I didn't know that. I'm like, why would a swimming pool? It is what it is. You would have to get this big old comprehensive permit to put in a swimming pool. And it adds a lot of time. It adds 6-8 weeks to your schedule. It can cost up to $4,500 to get the permit. And then a lot of people have to look at it and approve it. So you're talking about a big deal. Now, I used to talk to Antonella and I go, yeah, can we do this here? And you go, yeah, you can. Oh, how long? Well, that'll take this long and it costs about this much money. And then I go, well, what about this? Can we do this? And he'd go, we'd have to go to Cosenza. What he was telling me, I think, was that we would have to get one of these permits and let's just not go to Cosenza. So we have a joke. Oh, do we have to go to Cosenza on this? No. Okay, good. We're going to do it. So yeah, it's a big deal. Now that brings up something else I want to bring up. And I know I bring this up a lot because it's so important. Abusive, meaning unpermitted work. Now, as I was researching these permits, and especially the last one, I found some things that made my blood run icy in my veins. And it is this. Remember that property I told you about where I went in and I go, oh, this is so beautiful. What a great property. The views are so fantastic. Blah, 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 blah. You know, oh, the granny quarter underneath. Oh, fantastic. And they got a little swimming pool in the back. I thought it was great. I'm like, I'm going to put this on the channel. It's going to sell fast. We're going to make everybody happy. And as I was filming, the agent pulls me over and goes, Chris, this granny quarters here, it's not permitted. It's abusive. And I'm like, oh no. And that's the one I told you about a couple weeks ago when I did that video where I looked at the fence and I go, wait, isn't there a setback? Because it was right up next to the fence. He goes, oh yeah. I'm like, okay. So in a situation like that, they can, like, first of all, this was the whole granny quarters, and I suspect the swimming pool, because if they didn't get permits to do what they did to the granny quarters, I can almost guarantee you they didn't get a permit for the swimming pool. So this is the PDC permit, which is the last, most expensive, biggest, most comprehensive permit, and it wasn't done, and a lot of those things needed that permit. Now, so what's the difference between that permit and the other permits? Well, the other permits, you know, you might be able to remediate these things. You might be able to pay a little penalty. You might pay a little bit of taxes and that kind of thing and fix it up. Like a pergola that's not permitted, big deal. You take down the pergola or you retroactively get it permitted. It's not that big a deal. But we're talking a whole granny's quarter, a whole add-on, okay? Bathroom, kitchen, like a whole apartment down below, and a swimming pool. Now, those penalties are anywhere between $5,000 to $50,000 plus. And I don't know how far it goes up, depends on the complexity of the project. It can go up pretty high. Plus the fact they can force you to tear it out, which you pay for as the new buyer, and there could be criminal charges involved. So they're serious on this one. And that's why I would never touch a property like that with a 10-foot barge pole, because you could get yourself into a lot of trouble and lose a lot of money, a lot of time, and really destroy your taste for being there and being in Italy after a situation like that. So that's why it's so important to really look at these things. And the person who's going to be able to do that is not your attorney. It's going to be an architect or a geometra or an engineer, but you have to make sure you tell them, I want you to pull the permits. I want you to look at them and look at them with them. Look at them with the floor plans. Is that permitted? Okay, good. Show me the permit for that. Okay, great. And a lot of times when you buy a house, if they've had work done, they'll give you all of that stuff. But you should ask for proof that those are not abusive. It's that important. So I've done my soapbox tour for the day on that whole thing. Another thing that you want to look at, we already talked at foundation, go away. We don't want to see that. How do you tell about foundations? You got to hire a geometra or an architect or an engineer, and they can look. Another thing you want to look at is, where is it going to cost me the most money to fix this thing up? Roofs, are going to be expensive. So if you make your offer, you look at the property values around the area, and you reduce your offer to take in the fact that the roof needs to be done. Now, many times they'll go, well, the roof needs to be done. We've already reduced the price. Great, that's fine. You know that going in. And again, there's various different roof things. If you just have to do the coverings of the roof, that's one permit. If you have to do the structural part of the roof, that's another permit. And it may be that they don't know fully until they get in and look. So make sure you understand all of that too. High value things in a house is something I always look for. Do they have heat? In southern Italy, and even in Mola di Bari and that kind of thing, a lot of these houses don't have any heat. They have a fireplace that doesn't heat a gosh darn thing. Okay, so you might have to add heat and air conditioning. Air conditioning splits, heat and air conditioning splits, anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000, maybe up as high as $2,500 if you get the really good ones. I like the Lamborghini ones. They're super quiet. They're super great. Mitsubishi makes another good one. It's worthwhile to spend a little extra money because I bought these Ferraroli or whatever they are. You'll see them in all the, Unieuros and things like that. And they're terrible. I've had 2 of them go south on me within months, and you try to fix them and they don't fix it. Just don't get them. Get one of the higher ends. Mitsubishis are really good. So, splits, air conditioning, radiators, it's nice. Or even if it's plumbed for radiators and you have to put in your radiators, that's still value. Shutters are expensive. New windows are expensive. You can take older windows if they're decently made in the first place, and you can get them made into double glaze and fixed up the panes and everything. Is cheaper than going with PVC or aluminum windows. And it's something you can do if that's what you want, but you have to know going in. Potable water. You would think that everywhere would have potable water, but it's not true. There's a section in Scalea that does not have potable water. It's untested. We actually bought there, we tested it. I don't drink it. I have a water filter that I put in, and I do it, I use it for my pasta. Nothing bad has ever happened as a result because we tested it with a pretty good testing equipment. It's not that it's not potable, it just hasn't been tested. But right there, that's kind of like, make sure you know, because it's not going to be divulged in these documents. It's going to be assumed that you know. Another high value item is a Serbatoio d'acqua, which I've talked about a lot. And this is a water tank. They come, actually, they look like vases. They're very nice. We put them in every property we have. And what that is it stores water, drinking water and everything else for you. And then if the water level gets, the water pressure gets low, it pumps it back in. And if, for example, you're in a historic center with old pipes and everything else, you're going to want that because, a pipe breaks and the water's off for half a day or a whole day. And if you didn't prepare for it, have a lot of bottled water and stuff to flush the toilet and whatnot, it's a little inconvenient. So I always like my Serbatoio d'acqua. Also, in the summer, like in Scalea, where we had our house in Scalea, in the Centro Storico, what I didn't realize the first year was that all the tourists come in to all the same places in the historic center, and the water pressure goes to a drip. And it was really inconvenient. So right after that, I put in a Serbatoio d'acqua. So when everybody else is trying to take a shower at their little drippy shower thing, with our Serbatoio d'acqua, and it's something we actually tell people when they rent the place. It's like, we got Serbatoio d'acqua. You're gonna have a great shower every morning. So that's something. Another thing we're looking at too is things like balconies. Stucco sometimes, especially in Calabria and Puglia along the sea, especially Calabria. Calabria gets hit with some pretty wild weather, which we love. And a lot of time the stucco it's like a sponge and it sucks up water, and the metal supports can be affected. They can be rusted and corroded, and they can rust through. Look at them if you can. If they're exposed, take a look. Do they need to be remediated? It's fine. You just need to know that that's a cost. Water intrusion. First of all, caveat, I'm not a building professional. I'm not an architect, engineer, or geometra, or anything. I've just renovated a lot of properties. So, okay, so water intrusion, and there's a lot of reasons for water intrusion. It can be coming from the roof, which is obviously what a lot of people think of first. It can be coming in around the windows. We had a situation where we had a gutter that was leaking, and it leaked, and of course the stucco, you know, is like a sponge, and even in the historic centers, the stucco is like a sponge, and it sucks it in, comes in, the paint's peeling on the inside. That remediation was very easy. We just did some elastomeric paint and painted the outside there so that the, you know, the whole outside and the front, so it wouldn't suck in and do that. Those are a few things to look at. Whenever I see water intrusion, I always want to ask an engineer, architect, or geometra, and it's a very, very good idea to have somebody give you an inspection and give you the full rundown on everything that needs to be fixed just to make it, you know, secure and waterproof and habitable and that kind of thing. And then also get an idea of, you know, I want to do this with the bathroom. Can I do it? What's it going to cost and that kind of thing. Another very important thing is you have to find out what you can do and what you can't do. In the historic centers specifically, there's a lot you can't do, okay? In Santa Domenica Tilao, you can take a window and you can make it 20% bigger. Same with the balconies, but that's it. And if you want a roof terrace, you have to make sure, first of all, you can have the roof terrace. Secondly, it can't be more than 30% of the total footprint of the building, okay? There's some older ones that are all roof terrace, and it's fabulous, but those days are gone. That ship has sailed. So you can't really have that. And we're finding out that in Turrita and in Tuscany especially, it's way tougher. In the historic centers, they're very, very intent on keeping things exactly as they are, at least the appearances. So you have to get a really good architect that can do workarounds and things. In fact, we're working with Lorella on a little space in with our new client, and we're trying to see, can we open it up? Can we do something? If we can't have a terrace there, can we do a, you know, what solaio, a skylight that maybe opens up to the sky? That'd be a nice alternative, a little almost outdoor space. So there's a lot of that you have to know. In the historic centers, you cannot have solar, for example. You have to be very careful about putting on, like for example, in Turrita, you can't put balconies on where this one house is and that kind of thing. You need to know that before you buy so that you're not heartbroken. Oh, I pictured that I'd be out on the balcony leaning over, saying hi to my neighbors, and now I have this house and no balcony, you know, wah, wah, wah. And it can be a bitter, bitter pill if that's how you saw your dream life. So make sure you know before you go in. Permits, we're going to go over in another video because that's a whole thing. Understanding the purchase process. There's no multiple listing service. You have to go from agency to agency and look at their houses. Agents tend to favor the sellers because they have a contract with them, and there are very few disclosures, so you really got to do your due diligence. The documents, you need to be familiar with them. Again, that's a whole nother video. Attorneys, inspections, floor plans, and the correct professionals in place. Very important. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I could go on for days with this. In fact, I probably will at some point in different videos, but this gives you an idea. Really, the most important part about this video is know before you go. Choose the property that is going to give you what you want for the price that you think you can afford and that sort of thing. And make sure you have a really good team behind you. And again, we have great teams. We have the team in Calabria, we have one in Tuscany, and we have one in Puglia. And we're in love with our teams. They are the best people on earth. They're so fun to work with, and they take and make this process from what could be an overwhelming big thing into something that's really fun and exciting and creative. And everybody that's finally moved into their properties, generally, you know, you're never going to please 100% of the people, but if you please 99%, you're doing really well. And I would have to say 99.9% are super happy with their products that they got. Not only super happy, but they're over the moon and telling all their friends and everything else, which is why we always have people coming over. So that's good news. Anyway, there you go, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's talk about things. Ask me your questions because I want to help you. I want to answer the questions that you have. And I love talking to you guys. So see you soon. Take care.